Hello, and welcome back to another day of crypto observance with the Crypto Observers, a podcast that lives on the frontier of the cryptocurrency revolution.
It's important to note that these are just our observations and not to be considered professional financial advice.
But we are active investors in cryptocurrency
as well as experienced entrepreneurs on the pursuit of financial freedom while exploring new ideas, emerging industries, and the limitless potential of the future. Hello, welcome to another episode of Crypto Observers. You're here with Christian and Mendy.
Good morning. Thank you for listening. I'm grateful to have you here with us again for episode 2 of Crypto Observers. We're just going to go right on into the updates on the market. What we like to look at is obviously the coins that we've bought into, and then we like to also take a peek at the most changed in the last 24 hours. So you can go to whatever currency website you prefer. We use Coinbase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whichever exchange you're using, they should have a list of the prices. And if you go to your price list, you can click on the change icon, and it'll show you the coins that have experienced the most change. Coinbase allows you to change this from 24 hours up to a year. So I'm not sure about the exchange you're using, but typically you should have a range of time that you can change and see the biggest gainers within the last 24 hours to a year.
Right. So right now we're seeing that 0x has the highest percent of gain for the coins that are available on Coinbase, and that's a 3.25% increase. And then that puts it at 16 cents. Zcash is the next one, closest to the top with a 2.09% gain. It's at 45.02 right now. And then number 3 would be XRP, up 1.82% at 26 cents. I guess we can just do the top 5 here. Ethereum's up 6.69%. It's at 180.5. And then Bitcoin Cash is also up 0.29% at 297.08.
So those are some good improvements overnight. Looks like everything's been going into the green, seeing some increase in price. What just caught my attention as we were looking at the biggest changes over the last 24 hours, Coinbase not only shows their tradable assets, but they also show all of the available assets online. When we go to all available assets as opposed to only those available on Coinbase, there are some pretty huge, some significant gains. EDR coin, I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with that. I myself am not, but I've noticed that it's had a 1,337.63% gain in the last 24 hours.
So yeah, it's up to 77 cents from being at 0.09
less
cents.
Than even a penny.
Right. So that's really interesting. We're still looking at the main ones that changed, but again, these are the ones that are not available on Coinbase, and we're seeing some really huge numbers here as far as the gains that are not on the coins that are available on Coinbase, which is, again, really interesting to us because we notice that like mainstream media would have you assume that most of the currencies are extremely volatile to the point where you don't trust your money in them. You don't want to invest in it. But from what we can see, even the more diverse, newer cryptos that are coming to the market, and they're going right to the surface. Like they're shooting up because there is a demand for other types of currencies. And that's why we're really interested in doing this podcast, is because there's not a lot of people talking about, this step into the future. I'm going to take a little bit of a look back to the past and see about 1776 is when the first $2 bill was initiated, and it's actually
Really?
9 days older than America. So they had currency that they put in place that they considered to be greenbacks, and then they did that again in 1861 and 1862 to finance the Civil War. And that was when they really started in with the actual paper currency and tried to keep people from counterfeiting it. But before that, it was actual hard coins. But you can kind of see how the idea of currency just came up to finance war in a lot of ways. It was not really developed to tokenize a service like cryptocurrency is. That's kind of my focus and interest in cryptocurrencies, is because it's not just a benefit for people in the United States. It's really going to benefit people in other countries and tie our services together and really how we can help each other. So there's really a demand that we can't see that's going to be met if in the future.
And what kind of social or governmental policies, I guess, changes do you see coming about to push us closer to a cryptocurrency dominated economy?
I feel like there will be a lot of pushback.
Really?
Yeah. And maybe it's too early to tell, because it seems like, for instance, with the Libra coin, there are a lot of companies willing to partner and maybe, hold hands with a new cryptocurrency if they're willing to bend to the stipulations of the previous currency. So I do feel like the people who are developing the other currencies that are not so much in alignment with what the US dollar is doing, there'll probably be more pushback on those. So it'll be varied, obviously, based off of what the white papers are written to say that the cryptocurrency is essentially supposed to bring benefit to, or to bring ease around.
I definitely think that's something that we'll have to be looking out for in the future too. I feel like the white paper is a good way to identify a winning cryptocurrency, simply because if you can identify a cryptocurrency or a token, I should say a coin or a token, but we'll come back to that. If you can identify a coin that has not only a monetary value that allows you to trade currency from one location to another, but if you also find a coin that has some utilization, I believe in the last episode we touched on XYO, and that's a token, but it has some utilization abilities or properties which would allow you to format that currency into a lot of different other applications.
Right. And a lot of this is really specific and detailed. So, we might start, we'll just step back a little bit, and I'll ask you, what is a blockchain? What do you think a blockchain is? And then how do you think that the blockchain itself can bring about a service, like a real service, to your door? Like, how does that tie together?
Okay, so a blockchain, from my understanding, is a system. It's a software. And the difference, or what makes this software stand out, is that it takes information and it locks it away in a secure process through means of multiple algorithms, and it keeps that information stored there forever. It can't be altered.
Right.
It locks it away in a certain process, through a certain process that keeps it, I wouldn't even know how to describe it, secure. You can't change that information. There's no way to duplicate it, or so.
And that right there is where the value of the blockchain lies, because it's an encrypted code that stays the same no matter what the future does.
Yeah, and there's tons of ways to make a blockchain. There's different codings that go into each one. That's why they have the white papers for different cryptocurrencies, because a lot of the times when you're dealing with a coin, let's say Bitcoin or Litecoin, the difference in them is actually the blockchain that they use. So, for instance, dealing directly with cryptocurrency, blockchain can be based off of proof of work or proof of stake. Proof of work is going to be where a miner sits down, they utilize their computer power to resolve several algorithms, and that locks a transaction into the blockchain. It can then never be altered, and the miner is rewarded Bitcoin or whatever coin they're mining. Proof of stake blockchain is going to be more of an investment based blockchain, where users would put their cryptocurrency into a vault, a digital vault, and this allows for security on the network because everyone's invested. So everyone is invested in this network working properly. And then after a certain amount of time, you can withdraw your cryptocurrency with a gain, with some kind of gain on it, because you've invested and helped the network work properly.
Right.
So the blockchain technology in and of itself is evolving, it's changing. There's a lot of different uses for it. And with cryptocurrency right now, we're using it obviously to develop more coins. However, it can be used for hospitals to maintain medical records. It can be used at the DMV to maintain driver records. Anything that we want to maintain long term and not allow it to be altered, blockchain has potential in those industries.
Right. So in a lot of ways, it can step in and replace the paper copies. It could even replace the actual physical locations that you need to go to in order to file these things. It's just really exciting to think about all the potentials for it. But one example would be like if your vehicle, whenever it's created, it has its own blockchain, and then its worth is determined as the life of the car goes on. So it has repairs done at a certain point, and that's documented within the blockchain. It transfers owners, that's documented in the blockchain. So you can consistently refer back to the records of anything. So you don't really need a paper copy. It's almost like taking a digital copy and encrypting it and making it so secure that it has value.
And we could potentially even do the same thing with, for instance, our driving records or licensing for vehicles. Right now, there's so much scrutiny over the security of our processes that we have to go through the DMV or through another government agency and try to get our vehicles licensed or to obtain even information on ourselves.
Right, like a social security card or a driver's license. All those things, in essence, could be part of a blockchain.
And maintained digitally. And if they can't be altered, this information is secure online, then it would allow greater access, ease of access. And at the same time, we don't have that worry that somebody's going to hack our information or steal our information.
Right. I foresee a lot of just really enticing applications for the future where it could make things that are really kind of fickle right now become more stable and able to hold their ground as far as being implemented properly, maybe even so far as voting. Like if you could somehow vote electronically and assure that every individual's vote is accounted for,
that would be awesome.
Through a blockchain, that would be next level. That would take us up to the next level of civilization, which I feel like cryptocurrency really is doing as people start applying it.
Right. And I think as people start applying it, we'll see some changes in the cryptocurrency market. For instance, the volatility of the market. I think we'll see change as more people come into the space and maintain their investments. So you were talking about the effect of the mainstream or the media on cryptocurrency. And I think it plays an extreme role in a lot of the volatility because people, don't really understand what drives the value. And what drives the value is our investment.
Right. And as long as you're holding that investment, everybody who holds their investment maintains the value of the currency. Once people start getting afraid or manipulated by what the mainstream media or maybe just naysayers in their community, anybody who just doesn't understand it and wants to say, really negative things because they've been, suggested to be afraid of it, so they are afraid of it and they want you to be afraid of it, that doesn't really help to build the market because nobody's going to hold their money in there. And that's why it drops whenever big things like happen where there's an individual who maybe says that they lost a lot of money like in one point in time and everybody now is scared in the future, where it doesn't even really make sense, to base those previous speculations over the calculations.
And that's exactly what it is. It's just a lot of speculation, and that speculation causes fear. And then so that fear then turns into almost a self-fulfilling prophecy where people are running to their crypto exchanges and they're like, oh, okay, I've heard that this coin is going down. I'm withdrawing all of my money from it. Well, if 2 million people do that and they withdraw their money from a cryptocurrency or a coin, then of course the price is going to decline. And so that fear has now generated this self-fulfilling prophecy and the price has declined, And so I think that if there wasn't so much speculation, which one day there won't be, the cryptocurrency market will be almost like the Dow Jones, and we'll see stable numbers for years. But right now, there's just a lot of people that are in the market. They're afraid. There's nothing to really give them that security. So that's going to continue to cause more volatility at the moment, I feel like.
Right.
There's actually, though, while I know that a lot of beginner investors complain about the volatility of cryptocurrency, I find it as one of the things that attracts me to it. I feel like there's not a lot of investment vehicles where you have the potential to 10x your investment overnight. In reality, there's even more volatility in fiat currency potentially than in cryptocurrency. So I was doing a little research, and the Turkish lira, which is the currency of Turkey, as well as the British pound, have been on the decline in the last few years.
Okay.
The British pound is going down because of Brexit. So Britain is attempting to leave the European Union, and in doing so, they've caused inflation to take place. Their currency is collapsing.
Wow, I didn't know that was happening. I mean, I knew Brexit was taking place, but I didn't know it was having an effect on their currency.
It's having a huge effect on their currency and so many other things.
It makes total sense.
And to just slightly switch gears for just a moment and get into some conspiracy theory stuff, it almost is strange that the British pound has been one of the most stable, if not one of the most powerful currencies in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
And now, through a systematic approach, they've taken away its value. Pretty much by just saying like, oh, okay, we want to leave the European Union, which is, I don't know. Look into Brexit and make your own conclusions. But just see who's behind it, see who's really pushing for this stuff, and ask yourself, why would they want to devalue the British pound? And what does that mean for the rest of the world? But also, so just going back to the volatility of those fiat currencies, the Turkish lira, since the coup that happened, I believe, in 2017, has been at a 6% volatility rate. So, and the British pound has been at about a 3% volatility rate. Bitcoin itself, one of the most volatile cryptocurrencies, has only been at about a 2 to 3% volatility rate.
Interesting.
In the last 30 days.
Okay.
For instance, okay? So these fiat currencies that are supposed to be so stable, and everybody trusted more than cryptocurrency, are not even as stable as Bitcoin.
So it's really a matter of what you're paying attention to, because again, back to your idea of conspiracy theories, I don't think it's much of a conspiracy theory that the mainstream media wants to impose fear on us. So whenever we take a step back and actually do research, for instance, the most changed in gains over the last day, you start seeing new names of currencies. You start learning about all of these different I don't know, they're just new foundations that are being made, because there are people who know that what is in place is not working, and there are people who have us afraid of what could be new and different. So I feel like a good thing to pay attention to, again, is the changes in the market and watching the coins that you've invested in, and then you can also set alerts for whenever the coins go up or down a certain amount. You can customize all that through different apps, like the Coinbase app, for instance, is what we've been using. So whenever you see that the coin that you've invested in has gone down past a point that you feel comfortable with, you got to set that line for yourself and really set that alert. But you can pull your money out, trade it, change it into a stable coin, maybe back to Bitcoin if you're in a different altcoin. But really, I think if your attention is there, like on the market and what the actual cryptocurrencies are doing, if you're really interested in it, you're not going to be afraid of losing money, because you're going to see that what the mainstream media is saying is just backwards. It's not applying to reality.
And if you feel like you can't necessarily trust the coin that you're in, again, what Mendy was saying is 100% correct. Switching over to a stable coin is always an option, and I would just really consider switching to something you believe in, and watching the price, just knowing where you got into your coin originally, and setting those alerts, and not allowing the price to go below what you believe is an acceptable loss. So, and then having that strategy in place, having the idea in place that if this coin does drop so far, I'm gonna switch over to a stable coin, to a stable coin, excuse me, or I'm gonna switch back to Bitcoin, and being prepared to do that, but also having your notification set so that when the prices are rising, you can get in on those upward trends and maybe buy some more of your coins and ride an upward wave.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is a matter of like riding a wave, or kind of like hopping on a train as it's moving, or I don't know, there are lots of different analogies for kind of getting into the market at the right time whenever it's lower than it was, so that it's going to go up. And it's a matter of attention. You need to have some calculations, perhaps, and do some actual research before you assume that what the mainstream is saying about the market is correct.
True. And going back to research again, look into those white papers. Every cryptocurrency is going to have some type of information on what their purpose is, what it is that they're promising to do, what their blockchain does. And some of these coins, like Ether, which is based off of the Ethereum blockchain, offer the potential to create tokens. So a token, and I've touched on this a couple times, but real quick I just want to go in depth. A token is reliant on the blockchain of an already existent coin. So XRP, for instance, is a token based on the Ethereum blockchain. So there's so many others that are based on the Ethereum blockchain. However, Ethereum itself is a coin which is based independently on its own blockchain. So are Bitcoin and Litecoin. Those are not tokens. Tokens, to me, I think have an extraordinary amount of potential. I think eventually we'll be seeing ourselves take our physical assets in reality and have them tokenized. And that will give us the potential and the ability to exchange that physical value now in the digital space with people that we could not access before. You can sell something that's right here in front of you, exchange its value for something else to a person that's in a different country. So again, looking into those white papers is really going to help you tell the difference between, is this a coin? Is this a token? What are they promising to do within the next few years? And is this something I can invest in and get behind and hodl?
Right. Yeah. Find something that you want to stay with long term and make essentially huge gains, because you recognize that it has so much potential for use. Like, people will apply it to their lives. These future tokenized services, I feel like, are kind of the path to the future, as far as whenever we think about building community and also building like structure to your business.
I would also say, if you're getting into cryptocurrency and this is just the beginning for you, think about the long term. Don't look for a quick reward. Don't try to just throw your money in and expect to become rich overnight. And I say that with some previous experience. Looking back, there's been a lot of projects that I've been able to be a part of and have not stuck with them long enough to actually see the rewards. And I think we're at a state here in America, especially, where we're doing that. A lot of people are doing that. We're starting things. We see the potential. We're excited, and we want to work on those projects. And then 2 months later, 3 months later, it sizzles out, and we're not seeing the results we thought we would, and we don't have the ambition to stick with it for another year. I would say everything you start doing, stick with it for a year at least, and see where you are a year from then, and just have some stability. Like, for instance, I started a YouTube channel in 2007 and probably put YouTube videos up for about maybe 6 months, and then just kind of forgot about it, left it alone. I don't even know the login information anymore. But I go back and I check on the channel, and I have videos that are doing upwards of 30,000 views, 19,000 views, 10,000 views. And I cannot do anything with that now because I've left it alone. I forgot the login information. Can't monetize those videos. And I just think about, what if I had stuck with that? I could still be behind that profile, uploading content. The videos likely would be getting exponential views simply because I was uploading consistently. So I just want you to really consider sticking with the things that you're starting. Another example of that, I started putting out music on Lander, and they distribute your music, or especially if you're trying to start a podcast. Lander is a good place to check out. They distribute your media files to Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and you actually get to keep 100% of the royalties from those distributions. So I put out music a few years ago, again, left it alone, didn't pursue it, wasn't consistent. I go back to check my Lander here recently so we can upload our podcast.
Right.
And there's $65 in the Lander account that I've made just off of streams from music I uploaded a couple years ago. So
yeah, I was pretty shook by that. That was really exciting to see, just the amount of exposure that you can get if you leave your content out there long enough, or you stick with your projects. And I feel like that kind of comes with, I've definitely been a part of that process too, starting projects and not sticking with them, and then seeing maybe in the future other people doing things that I want to be doing. Or like, for instance, I used to teach yoga classes in the park. Like, I would just make Facebook posts. I have my own Facebook page. It's called Yoga with Mendy, Shakti. And I kind of got a basis for that around a holistic nutrition page. So I essentially just switched gears from holistic nutrition to yoga, and incorporated bringing smoothies to the classes and things like that. But I really fell off of doing that whenever I started helping my dad with his MQ mobile business. And I really... I reflect on, not as a loss so much, just as a potential still there for me to get back into that, because I realize the desire is still there to do that type of work on the side, and maybe just stick with other projects and be more disciplined with scheduling them into my, into my schedule, like making time to actually prepare for that and having a timeline for the day. I feel like it's really important, because there are little bits of the day where you can plan for things in the future, where you make time to set it aside, to come together, to form community in different ways. I feel a lot of fulfillment in those type of activities. So that's where I feel like the discipline comes in really handy whenever you're not, it's not even motivation at that point. You're like setting time aside so that you know that you can fulfill these needs in the community that are around you.
And at that point, it's just a matter of doing it. It's on your schedule. Yeah. You've already told yourself that this is a commitment you're gonna follow through on, and at that point, it's just a matter of doing it.
Yeah, and in the long run, I feel like these are lessons that you learn as you get older, because whenever you're young, you have lots of ideas, and the one you go with, you're not positive if that's going to be the one that you stick with for long term. So, for instance, previous to doing holistic nutrition, in high school, I went to vocational college course classes from junior and senior year for computer-aided drafting for architecture and engineering. So whenever I got out of high school, I went right into a cubicle from 2007 until I think it was 2017 is about 10 years of being in a cubicle full-time. Whenever I decided to transition out, whenever I was like, this is not the path for me.
Gotta get the hell out of here.
I don't want to do this anymore. And I know there's so much more money to be made within future endeavors where I can't have myself tied down to this one routine position. So it was a big leap to kind of be disciplined in that area, and knowing that my own self-worth was more than sitting in a cubicle. I had come to that conclusion after.
Yeah, that takes guts too, being able to admit that to yourself and then have to tell the people around you, like, I don't want to be here,
Right. And I was very confident about knowing that I was having a lot of suicidal thoughts. I knew that whenever I went there, I was very triggered into feeling that way, and I was just like, this isn't healthy. This doesn't equate. This is not gonna make sense for my life. I have to get out of this routine. And in doing so, I feel like it's freed up a lot of creative space in my brain to, again, just take a path that is maybe new and different, more aligned with my purpose.
And, if there's anybody out there that's kind of struggling with the same thing, maybe you are stuck in a job and you want to pursue some new opportunities, but you're not sure where to go, you can contact us. We manage a company, Generation Architect, and it's actually more of an organization. It's geared towards helping others actualize themselves to their full potential. And so if you visit generationarchitect.org, there's plenty of information on the website. You can also utilize that to enter your email address, and we'll follow up with you with some great content. We're going to be putting out some infographics and following up with a newsletter. What we really want to do is just get in touch with you. If you do have something that's on your heart and you don't know how to make it a reality, I believe that we can help you make that a reality. And also, I'm going to ask you to visit our mqmobile.org page if you are disabled or in need of any vehicle lift installments, any kind of mobility assistance.
Right. If you know anybody who requires mobility equipment consistently, a lot of times kids or young adults will be growing and they don't get newer vehicles for their family to travel around. That's a lot of times an issue. And then again, with the older community, like whenever you're trying to be independent and move around without somebody that used to be there with you all the time to help you, it can be really a struggle to just go to the grocery store or go to do your regular shopping to meet your own needs. So we really try to help support individuals who want to keep moving and can't. So we do stair lifts, helps get from upstairs to downstairs. We do installations of those. We do vehicle lift installs inside and internally and externally for the vehicle. And
anything that you are having an issue with as far as your mobility, we'll be happy to look into the problem and find a solution.
right.
I think in all of our businesses, that's what we aim to do, is find solutions, and we just break them up and categorize them to better help our clients understand what's going on. So again, guys, get out there, find something you love and pursue it to the fullest. And if you need a little help, get in touch with us.
Yeah, and utilize your social media. Definitely reach out if you need some assistance with social media, because Christian's extremely vigilant about creating content. He's one of the most focused and driven people when it comes to creating content that helps other people understand what to do next to grow their business. And like he said, self-actualization is
it's a process.
It's a process, right? It's a step-by-step. It's a spectrum of growth, and he really is good at taking like a magnifying glass and just getting to the root of just what he sees. Could be more organized and structured.
Well, thank you, Mendy. Appreciate that, and would love to share that with our audience. So again, guys, thanks for listening to Crypto Observers.
Yeah, thanks for listening. I'm grateful to have you here when we're looking forward to episode 3.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Crypto Observers. As always, we had a great time and hope you did as well. Tell us how you feel in the comments, like us on Facebook at Crypto Observers, and be sure to follow us so you don't miss future episodes. In every episode, we try to provide our listeners with beneficial resources that can make you a better crypto investor and a more successful entrepreneur.
So if you're new to cryptocurrency and simply want to start investing with as little as $5, Coinbase is the place to be. With an intuitive user interface and live monitoring of your portfolio from your phone or computer, Coinbase is the perfect online exchange for beginners, and even more for experienced investors. Use our link to get $10 of crypto for free when you invest your first $100.
Are you struggling to make online payments? Does your bank charge unnecessary fees? Need a checking or savings account fast? consider switching to Chime Banking, an online banking platform that provides you with all the same resources as a traditional bank. Easily get a checking account with accessible routing and account numbers, cashback savings, a custom debit card, and above all else, no fees. Use our link to create an account today, entirely free.